Hi, my name is Shana Hearn, and for this final project, I read Salsa, Soul, and Spirit by Juana Bordas. Leadership for a Multicultural Age, New Approaches to Leadership from Latino, Black, and American Indian Communities. I entitled my presentation, A Leader Among Equals, because I think that's a key point in the book. The author, Juana Bordas, is an immigrant from Nicaragua. It's hard to say. She came over here with her parents, and she's very informed about the subject of leadership, especially with all kinds of cultures. She was the first CEO of the National Hispana Leadership Institute. She's been directing Latino organizations for over 25 years, and she trained at the Center for Creative Leadership in the Leadership Development Program, and it's the most utilized leadership program in the world. She also received the Franklin Williams Award for her lifelong commitment to advancing communities of color. This book was written to help people understand multicultural leadership. Also, it's to help people learn about a different style of leadership than the normal leadership that most people know about, and it's a new kind of leadership that is beneficial to all of humankind instead of just certain people. The book is probably intended for pretty much anybody who wants to learn about culture, how to be a good neighbor, even, but how to be a good leader in a small community or even a large community. It could be really useful for rising politicians. I think it would be helpful for them. Salsa, Soul, Spirit, Leadership for a Multicultural Age teaches us that collective leadership is the best style of leadership that encompasses equality, respect, generosity of spirit, and serving others. Um, this book, it'll change the way that you think about leadership and culture forever. The author explains in the book how societies in ancient times were collective societies. Leaders worked together with all people in the community to make decisions. Collective and collaborative leaders are more positive than leaders who focus on individual achievement. A big thing that you learn from the book that I didn't really know about before, but it's important to understand the book, is the difference between a collective society or a collective culture and individualistic culture. An individualistic culture is the mainstream culture. We focus on individual accomplishments, and people base their self-worth on what they've done as individuals and how they rank among other people and in competition with others. Whereas the opposite of that is a collective culture. And people that live in a collective culture, they focus their self-worth on group accomplishments. They focus on what part they play in their community and how they help others. An example might be in a collective society, sometimes even in the like a Hispanic culture or families, at a birthday, usually we know like, oh, a birthday, the person whose birthday it is gets lots of presents. But in a collective culture, sometimes they'll have a birthday giveaway. And on that birthday, the person whose birthday it is will give out presents to others. And that kind of symbolizes those people are saying, I didn't make it all these years by myself. I'm recognizing my family. I'm recognizing the community, all the people that have helped me. And I'm not just basing it on me. So you might be wondering, how is this relating to leadership? Well, this relates to leadership because it's important for leaders to have that collective mindset, to be positive leaders. Instead of focusing on hierarchical hierarchical ideas of competition, they should strive to be equal with their followers and help lift them up. So what the author is saying in the book is that we shouldn't focus on, there's this king who tells us everything we're supposed to do. A leader isn't that. A leader isn't just the boss of everyone. A leader is someone who creates an environment where everyone can thrive and everyone can be equal. In the book, Juana Bordas gives 9 principles that we should follow to be great leaders. And one of them is Sen Foka, which is a bird from African tradition that represents the importance of learning from our past. So we need to learn from our past to be good leaders. We need to transfer from an I identity to a we identity. That's what I was talking about with the collective and individual society. A leader among equals. You need to be, as a leader, a community-conferred leadership. Leaders as guardians of public values, a tradition of activism. Leaders as a community steward, working for the common good. The 7th generation rule, intergenerational leadership. All my relatives, la familia, the village, the tribe. And gracias, hope and forgiveness. And a lot of these are talking about family and relatives. They're talking about how there's so many people of different ages, and a lot of times in individual societies, it's all about me, me, me. And we just do things because we want to, and we don't think about our future generations. And what the book is about is being a leader and thinking about other people, thinking about who's going to live on this earth next after us, and working with young and old to have a different generation of leaders, and also being grateful and being grateful for what we have and being generous with others. That's a big part of being a leader. In the book, Bordas talks about leadership, that it should promote the collective well-being by creating positive social change through a collaborative process. Leaders secure opportunities that develop and uplift people. And this is true throughout the book. She talks about how leaders are there to help others, are there to bring others success, not just themselves. And it's about creating an environment where everyone can participate equally. Because as we know, sometimes there's been, discrimination, whether it's against blacks, whether it's against women, whether it's against homosexuals. As a leader, it's important to seek justice for all people and to look where things aren't going right and where people aren't being able to equally participate. In we leadership-based society, a king doesn't rule over all people telling them what to do. Like what I said earlier, they create an environment where people can equally participate in solving their own problems. So you should be collective, collaborative. Leaders should also be good listeners, and a leader always sets a great example for their followers. A key point in the book is that leaders must examine social structures that limit equal participation. So, no discrimination. I would definitely recommend this book. It's really easy to read, and it's really fun to read, and the author tells a lot of stories about her life and her family, and that makes the book more exciting to read. The book relates to what we read about leadership and ethics. When leadership and ethics, we talked about the theory X and the theory Y, whereas theory X leaders think that people aren't motivated, people are lazy, that generally people aren't really good, whereas theory Y thinks people are already motivated, people want to work, people want to do a good job, they just need an environment where they can thrive. So the theory X would be the individualistic culture that Bordas talks about, whereas theory Y would be the collective culture that she speaks about. The most important thing that I learned about this was that I think that the society that we currently have isn't supportive of a collective community where everyone is equal and has a chance to live a good life and become leaders. There's so much discrimination, and the book also talks a lot about white privilege, which causes many problems for leaders. I think that if people could learn to see leadership in a multicultural way, in which all people are included and recognized, rather than as a competition, that the world would be a better place. So that's my works cited. Thank you.